Good day and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. St. Catherine South Police intervene in altercation between political candidates. Government contracted funeral homes demanding payment. And later in sports, Cavalier loses first leg of CONCACAF Champions Cup. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kerry-Ann Simpson. Here are the details. The St. Catherine South Police had to intervene in an altercation between the two candidates vying for the Greater Portmore East Division seat. The incident happened during Thursday's voting by Election Day workers and security forces members. Both parties have also reported the matter to the police. Shirley Pullen has our first story.
The People's National Party's Hutchroy Gordon told TVJ News that the incident happened during a visit to one of the polling stations in the Greater Portmore East Division in St. Catherine on Thursday. Mr. Gordon says at approximately 6:50, he was parked outside when his opponent, the Jamaica Labour Party's Patrick Barrett, showed up.
Whilst they're sitting in my vehicle, my opponent, Mr. Patrick Barrett, drove up in his van, pointing at me to say that I hope I get my facts right or I might face a lawsuit, after which he went into his van, took up something and tucked it in his waist, came out the van and sat in front of my vehicle on a stone.
And following an exchange of words, both candidates filed a report at the Portmore police station. Mr. Gordon says he feels intimidated because it's not the first time something like this has happened. But his opponent, the JLP candidate Patrick Barrett, has dismissed the argument of intimidation.
Well, I could have been putting my wallet in my pocket. I could have been putting something in my pocket. It's an allegation, but again, it just tends to say that they are looking at something to say, we are breaking the rules. But again, it could have been that I'm putting my wallet in my pocket. And indeed, that was what I was doing, putting my wallet in my pocket. Well, I can assure you, none of my supporters has ever engaged Mr. Gordon and his supporters in any way. In fact, most days when I campaign with 3 young ladies and a gentleman, and there's only one vehicle campaigning. Mr. Gordon on the other hand has sometimes 15, sometimes 20 persons. So I am wondering to myself who should feel more intimidated, myself or Mr. Gordon.
The police intervened and the matter was resolved.
I'm pleased that both parties have given their commitment, to ensure that we have a peaceful election period. I would say perhaps they need to be communicating somewhere, not because they're on opposite sides, but the need for communication and collaboration as leaders within their space is necessary.
SSP Phillips says the team will continue to monitor the space. Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
The People's National Party says it will be looking at creating better infrastructure for the disabled community if it gains control of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC. Opposition Senator Floyd Morris, speaking at a PNP meeting in Papine Wednesday night, says those with disabilities have been forgotten by the Andrew Holness-led government.
Look all over Papine. The place is inaccessible for persons with disabilities. But you have an advocate in Floyd Morris, and you have the Prime Minister in waiting, Mark Jefferson Golding, who comes from a family that cares for persons with disabilities. And we're going to set up the place to make life better for persons with disabilities.
Senator Morris also spoke to the high cost of housing in the corporate area, which has put young professionals at a disadvantage.
We're gonna make sure that when the People's National Party come back into power under the leadership of Mark Jefferson Golding, we're gonna repurpose the NHT and bring it back to the purpose that Michael Joshua Manley built it for in the 1970s, and that is to build affordable houses. Because the stinking truth is that NHT has lost its way under the Andrew Holness-led administration.
The government says it's gearing up to begin its road improvement project, the Spark program. During a tour of Junction St. Elizabeth last night, Prime Minister and leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, Andrew Holness, said $20 billion of the $40 billion announced for the program will be rolled out in the new fiscal year. From that $20 billion, each constituency will receive an allocation, starting with an initial $150 million.
It's not the size of the constituency that matters. It's the length of the roads in it. So depending on how many miles of roads are in the constituency, you will get an additional amount for every mile of road you have relative to the overall miles of road in the country. So if Frank have 5% of the roads of Jamaica, he will get 5% more of the entire $40 billion.
Mr. Holness says he anticipates each constituency receiving up to $300 million. But he says road rehabilitation is not the only matter on the agenda.
We cannot go and pave a road knowing that there is no water pipe on the road. So what we have decided is that if we're going to do a road, we're going to look at the water infrastructure. And if the pipes need changing, we will change the pipe at that time as well. So that we don't have to go back and dig up road after we fix it. So effectively, the Spark program is not only going to deal with road, it is also going to scope in the water infrastructure as well.
Frustration is boiling over among funeral directors who have been contracted by the government. They're asking when will they be reimbursed for services rendered to the government for the past 6 years. O'Shane Masters reports.
Please pay us.
The sentiment of funeral directors and morgue operators who have been contracted by the government. They have grown frustrated with the lack of attention from the government to their plight. They have not been paid monies owed to them. President of the Jamaica Association of Certified Embalmers and Funeral Directors, Calvin Lynn, says all the government has been doing is giving them a runaround. But he says he, along with those he represents, are at their wits' end.
Tell us something. Is it that you're sending the fools a little further? No, man. No. Our patience is wearing extra thin.
Mr. Lynn says based on how the government has been operating in relation to the payment, it seems there is no intention to pay the sum, which is several millions. He says at a meeting with representatives from the National Security Ministry, he had given a timeline of December 31, 2023 for a portion of the money owed to be paid, but that didn't happen. Subsequent to that missed timeline, he said a letter was sent to the Permanent Secretary in the National Security Ministry. Hence, this question.
Can we be told if payment will be made before the end of the financial year? New parliamentary year start last week Thursday. Nothing. Is it that they're saying that the ministry don't have the money for so long? More than 5 budgets passed already. This is disgusting, man. For a government to be owing contractors for so long and not expecting to get any interest on it.
But will the contractors take the matter to court? Mr. Lynn says no.
Let me tell you something. You know, it's not wise for anybody to sue government. That takes an eternity. So we're not even thinking about that. We just have to use measures like this and say, please pay us. Right now, with the unclaimed bodies, to include paupers, some of the contractors are not carrying out any burial.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The extension notice given to the Paul Boger Foundation to evacuate the premises of the Yalis Market in St. Thomas expires today. JLP councillor candidate for the Yalis division, John Lee, says despite the extension given, no action has been taken by the foundation.
We can also see that the Paul Boger Foundation have no intention to leave the premises because they believe that the former councillor, Mr. Constantine Boger, which is the head of the Paul Boger Foundation, can actually hold back the seat for the Yalas division. So they are playing cat and mouse with the premises.
Mr. Lee says the matter will be settled once and for all after the local government election.
After the 26th, which is Monday, which is the local government election, the people of Yalas will show Mr. Boger that you only come to take from us, but not to represent us. So therefore, after the 26th, I can guarantee you that every single item will be removed from the premises. Thank you.
And it's time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. The Trelawney police say there has been an increase in criminal activity since the start of the year. Commanding officer for the parish, DSP Winston Milton, says the issue is with gun-related crime. He says while the division's strategy worked last year in reducing violent crimes, there has to be a rethink for this year.
Those persons will continue to perpetrate acts of criminality, particularly violent crimes with the use of firearms. We urge you to surrender to the police when confronted. We would rather do battle with you in the court than on the street. So again, we urge you, surrender and allow yourselves to be arrested.
In the meantime, DSP Milton says greater effort will be made to speak with the youth in the parish. This following the fatal shooting of 2 young men by the Trelawney police on February 16 in Jackson Town. According to the police, they went to the property to carry out a search warrant for illegal guns when they
We
were
have met with the parents of the deceased, and coming out of this, we will continue to work with our external stakeholders to treat with at-risk youth, because we are aware that they are particularly vulnerable to being caught up in gang activities.
It's time now for the Business Minute.
Ratings agency Fitch has held the long-term issuer rating for the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, at AA+ with a stable outlook. The report says the bank has high governance standards, excellent capitalization, high level of solvency, and very high liquidity. Fitch also says the bank has resilient loan performance, exceeding previous expectations during the pandemic. The CDB says the AA+ rating from Fitch Ratings reinforces the confidence in the bank's financial strength and governance. Further afield, the world's largest automaker has issued recalls for thousands of its pickup trucks and SUVs. Toyota says it is issuing a series of 3 recalls that will affect around 280,000 vehicles. In some Toyota Tundras, the engine doesn't always fully disengage while in neutral, which can cause a vehicle to creep forward inadvertently. That presents a significant safety issue and could potentially lead to an accident. There's a second and smaller recall about 19,000 vehicles for Toyota's electric Miura and CERN 2023 and 2024 Lexus LX 600 models. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Shane Masters.
Thanks, Shane. Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, police investigators in Grenada are following a lead which suggests that 3 prisoners who escaped police custody and were recaptured in St. Vincent killed the occupants of the yacht they used to escape. It's believed that the 2 occupants of the yacht were American citizens. The 3 men who were in custody on charges of rape, robbery with violence, and other serious offenses escaped from lockup on Sunday but were caught in neighboring St. Vincent on Wednesday. On the international scene, at least 9 people were injured after more than 100 cars collided into each other on an icy highway in the eastern city of Suzhou, China. Videos circulating on social media showed numerous cars clumped together with glass and debris seen scattered all around. Parts of China have faced extreme weather conditions over the past few weeks, with blizzards affecting transport around the Lunar New Year holiday celebrations. And pharmacies across the United States were on Thursday unable to process prescriptions following a cyber attack on the health technology company Change Healthcare. Change Healthcare processes insurance prescriptions for tens of thousands of pharmacies nationwide. In a statement, the company said it believed the attack was isolated to its network and did not spread elsewhere. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Amoy Harriet.
Thank you, Amoy. We head to a quick break. When we come back, Jeremy Brown will have your midday sports.